Have you ever found yourself staring at the chessboard, wondering what your next move should be? Well, you're not alone. As an 1800 ELO player, I've spent countless hours playing games, analyzing positions, calculating threats, and trying to outthink my opponents. And today, I'm going to take you inside my brain and show you exactly why I move the way I do. And by the end of this video, you will not only see the board differently, but you'll also start thinking like a true chess player. Ready? Let's go. The game started with the move c4. Now, at this level, we already know every single opening on the chessboard, and we know that after the move c4, he's aiming to play the move d4, knight here, and play it. Sorry about that. What a weird timing. Okay, playing c4 and d4. And there are many ways for us to actually reply to it. You can play the King's Indian against that knight here. You can get the bishop and castle kingside. You can play this move sometimes. You can play the move e5, which is the most common. But I like to play the Slav defense, which is playing c6 and d5, developing the bishop, developing the knight, and continue on the game. Now he played the most obvious move, d4. Now we play the move d5. He developed his knight. And now here at this level, we don't see that this pawn is hanging. This pawn is not hanging because if I take it, I know my opponent is going to play the move e4. How do I know? Because I don't only play this move and I just make the move. No, I make two moves. One for me, and this is number one, and two for him. So this is the second move for my opponent, and he will win the pawn back, and his pawns will have a lot of control of the center. So this is why it's not a free pawn, and I'm not willing to take it. And now I just develop my knight, because my plan develop the knight, develop the bishop, play e6, and just developing the pieces, because at this level, I want to break the computer if that happens again. Okay, so now the main thing in the opening phase for us advanced chess players, we don't care about opening tricks, opening traps, we don't do them, and we don't see them happening to us, because we know how to reply to them all because we have felt for them for a billion times, and now we know exactly how to deal with them. And this is one of the traps when you take this pawn and then you try to hang on to the pawn and then you get devastated. Like you will lose the game 100% when you try to hang on to the pawn. So this is why I developed my knight. He played this move and I play bishop to f5. My next move is e6, bishop out, castle kingside. And when I'm done, when we're done the opening phase and everything is developed and my king is castled, then we can go on to the next phase, which is the middle game, and focus on making better strategies and try to target weaknesses if there were any weaknesses. He played the move queen to b3. Now this move, obviously, he is aiming at my pawn. And there are a lot of ways to defend. Many of you would just push the pawn, and that's not the best way to go about it, because you don't want to keep making pawn moves. You want to develop your pieces. But you don't want to develop the piece and lose the pawn. So one of the ways to develop a piece while still defending the pawn, you can play queen to c8, queen to c7, or queen to b8. Sorry, queen to b6. And I like the move queen to b6. And the reason for that, because when he takes me, I take with the pawn. Yes, we know about the bad pawn structure stuff. Having double pawns is not a good thing. But having double pawns on the side of the board is actually very nice because you would have a very powerful rook. This pawn will be very, very weak. And you can always have some kind of bush to actually fix the pawn structure in the future. So it's not really much of a great problem if he actually took me. He plays this move. Okay, now remember this, how it's not really a good move for him to take me, because that will open up for my rook. The exact same thing applies to me. I cannot take him because that will help him develop his rook. See? So now here I just go back. I just go back to c7, queen to c7. Now he develops his knight here. Now I don't know why he did not develop his knight to the center of the board to control these two squares, and he just went here. I don't know that. Here I decided to play the move d6. And the reason I played this move, because I wanted to play the move e6 and get the bishop here and castle. But I was like, these pawns are really strong, especially when he moves the queen back somewhere else and he centralizes this pawn for good and I cannot attack it anymore. And I was like, let's make use of the queen being here and he can never push the b4 push ever because the queen is still in the way. So let me just attack him right now because I want to take. He will take with the pawn and I play the move e5. I will have control over the center and my bishop will take the pawn in the future. That was my plan. So he decided to take me. And now, here, another important concept when it comes to advanced chess level. What piece to take with? Many of you would say, well, let's take the queen and chop off the queen of the board, but it's not really that way. Because if I take with the queen, he doesn't have to take me. He can just move the queen away. And now I'm left with a dumb pawn on a7 that I have to always protect with a piece, either with the rook or with the queen or a bishop or a knight. I have to defend it with a piece, not with another pawn. This is why it's important to always take when in a way that you will still have connected pawns around you. Don't have isolated pawns like this. So I decided to take with the pawn, and now he played this move. You might be thinking that this e4 push is a blunder. He just gives away a pawn, and you're 100% right. But at this level, he is 2000 elo player, and I'm only 1873. But at his level, he understands positional sacrifices. He gives away a pawn so that he can activate his bishop. He can play rook to c1. Moving the knight will be on the same line as my queen. So there will be some potential, I will lose the pawn here, or he will play something like this. There's a lot of stuff. So it's just a positional sacrifice. And yes, he gave up a pawn, but if I played perfectly, he will be losing. And if he played perfectly, he would justify his move. So I decided to take with the knight. And here, the exact same thing with this position, when we had a pawn and a queen taking the pawn. With what piece you have to take this pawn? If I take with the pawn, he will always have this. He will have this, d5 push at some point. And taking like this will have double pawns. So taking with the pawn is definitely not a good thing. Okay, what about bishop takes? Well, if I take with the bishop, there might be this move, f3, and I have to go back. So now I just wasted the move while just taking the pawn. So it's like I did not win any piece. So I was like, the best move is to take with the knight. Because if he pushed here or did something, I'm just going to take his knight. So now we are up one pawn, and I don't have to move my piece. My pieces are backward. That was my plan. I took, and now he went for his plan, which I actually know he will play it, attacking my queen. And I need to go here to keep defending this pawn. He went here, so see? He sacrificed the pawn for positional play. So now he's aiming either, at my pawns, the bishop would be active somehow. And now here I decided to develop my knight. Because the more pieces that are developed, the better. And I can protect myself, and I can protect this pawn somehow, and I can always try to put the rook on c8 and play the move e6. And now he took my knight. Because now he opened up his rook, and now this pawn is really weak. I took with the bishop, he played this move, and now here I didn't like the fact that he will take my bishop and I have to take with the pawn. Will make this pawn very weak after like bishop to c4, and I cannot really defend in a good way. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go for it. And I don't want to play the move e6 then. I can play it then, but I will still have a double pawns here, which is really not a good thing. So I went back with the bishop because now no double pawns will be here. My bishop is controlling his knight, and everything is amazing. I was expecting him to play the move bishop to d3, trying to trade off the bishops, but I was like, he can't really play that because he is down one pawn. Okay? The second move that I thought he's going to play is queen to c3. With the rook, he's aiming at my pawn on c6. And if I defend with the rook, there might be like a b4, b5, and if I take, I'll lose the rook because queen takes, rook takes, that will be mate. So there's a lot of stuff going on in my mind. But he played bishop to e2 because now this is a very strong indication that he doesn't want to go for trades. He doesn't want to go for attacking chess. He's like, you know what? Let me just play a calm move, castle my king, get the other rooks into the game, and then try to play the game. And now I decided to play the move e6 because I wanted to do the exact same thing. I wanted to play bishop to e7, castle king side, and use the rooks on the open file to target this pawn whatsoever. Okay, now we play the move bishop to e7, and here he played the move bishop to e3. Now, bishop to e3, it seems like it doesn't do anything, it just defends a pawn, but this move is actually a very good move, because he's trying to go for the move f4, and I actually seen that he's gonna play the move f4, but there's no way for me to try to stop it. I cannot stop it whatsoever. Okay, so I could have castled, but I went with the move bishop to d6, and the reason for that, his bishop here is really strong, right? But his bishop here is really bad because it's looking at a pawn that it will never be pushed away unless I made the decision to push and actually allow him to take like this and open up his bishop. And I would never do something crazy like that. So I was like, okay, let me play bishop to d6. Now I have control over this diagonal and he can never put his bishop on a really active diagonal, and his bishop is bad right now. I thought that this wasn't a very nice move. He played his move f4. And I was expecting this move, but let me explain to you what was I thinking? What was I thinking, or thinking? What the hell is that? Okay, I wanted to play the move f5, but when you get better at the game of chess, you understand about piece activity. Okay, so when I played the move f5, I started thinking about this bozo on g6. So I played this. My bishop will never go to h5 because there's a knight and a bishop here, and I can never go to f7 because I'm looking at nothing. I'm looking at two pawns. And even if I played the move f5 and castle kingside and put the bishop on e8, the bishop is still bad because there's a knight and a pawn in front of it. And I was like, my bishop here is really strong, but my bishop here or here will be very bad. So playing the move f5 will literally make me play down a piece. And guess what? f5 is the top engine move, which is really crazy how computers think. So I played the most, I just played this move, c5. And I was like, you want to push, I just take. I don't really care. That was my plan. But this move is a blunder. And there's no way that I can save myself. I am cooked. I'm losing the game right now. c5. You might say, well, how this is a blunder? Well, at the beginner level, a blunder simply means him putting the queen here and you can simply just take it off. A blunder might seem like if there was no like a beginner like a blunder for the intermediate level, like putting a bishop here, okay, and there's no bishop here and I can play the move c4, forking the bishop and the queen, for example. But a blunder at the advanced level, you only know it's a blunder after a sequence of moves, after like 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. And what I calculated here, he will take me, I will take with the knight attacking his queen. He takes me with the bishop, and I take with the bishop, giving him a check. The king moves to the corner, and then I castle my king and I play rook to c8. That was my plan. But what I missed, after pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes check, he doesn't have to go king to h1 because this move is a blunder. Why? Because he can play rook takes c5. I cannot take him because I will lose my queen. That's why all the way back here, this move is a blunder. See, it's a little bit complicated when you see it like this, but yeah, the more the better the better you get at chess, the harder it gets. Really, really weird. And after this exchange, I'm losing the game. I'm down 2 points of material, and here I decided to castle my king because I cannot take. I lose my queen, so let me just castle my king. Try to turtle up more myself to try to get my king to safety and not lose on the spot. Even though I'm down a lot of time, I'm 2 minutes and 37 seconds, and here he has 7 minutes. And now he played the move rook to b5. With the queen, obviously he's aiming at my pawn and he wants to take it. And here, I decided to trap my opponent. Even though I'm down 2 points of material and it's better for me to resign at this point, but I decided to play queen to a7. Now this is a trap. And the trap goes like this. I wanted him to take me here for him to think that I wanted to take this pawn. Then he will take with the queen and I would go rook takes, so he would still be up 2 points of material, but there are no queens on the board. And he was so happy with that trade that he actually played it, and that was my trap. My trap, I was not going to go here. I was only making this plan in my head for him to think that for himself. And this move is a blunder. The reason for that, My queen is pinning the rook now. So now I can play the move rook to b8. That's why it's a blunder, because he loses the piece. He can't defend it, because I can simply take. He cannot defend with the rook any kind of way. Maybe if the rook was here, he can defend it, but there's a pawn in the way, and also bishop takes b1 is also possible for me, so he can never go here. And I understood at this point that I'm winning the game. He cannot defend the rook. He played this move because at the advanced level, we don't give up. We make some moves to confuse our opponents. And he made this move just to confuse me, but I was like, there's nothing to be confused about. I'm just going to take this pawn. There's no reason to go for it because the rook is still there. It's still pinned, so I don't really have to take it right now. He takes with the knight. And now here what I thought. I was thinking that this rook will be dead, no matter what he does. He cannot defend with the knight in any kind of way. Even if I take him here, he cannot put his rook on magically on f6, try to defend. He cannot defend. And I was like, okay, the more pieces that we trade, the better for me, right? So I decided to take the knight. He takes with the rook. And now I decided to take the rook. And now let's go back to move earlier, the importance of which piece to take with. If I take, sorry, if I take with the rook, I'll be attacking his queen. The queen might just move away to try to defend the pawn, and then he would aim at my pawn here. And I didn't like that. And I was like, as long as there are queens on the board, there will always be a chance for him to draw the game or have some counterplay on against me, right? So this is why I took with the queen to force a queen trade, to take with the rook, and now I'm still aiming at two of his pawns, right? And I will lose a pawn in the future. So he needs to give away one of the pawns. So he takes my pawn, and I take this, and now he goes here. Now, the reason I'm not supposed to take this pawn because that's simply a blunder. I lose the game to rook to d8. So that's very important not to hang back rank checkmate, right? So I took that pawn. He played this move, trying to defend, and now I went back here. And the reason I went back here all the way to b7, not because I'm a bozo, I'm trying to win some time. No. He was aiming to play rook to d7. With the bishop that's spinning the pawn, he will win the pawn. Unless I play the move rook to a7, rook to a8, rook to f8, sorry, rook to f8, defending, and then he would have some counterplay with the pawn defended by the rook. And I was like, oh, no way. I will not allow that. Let's go rook to d7, stop him from playing this move. Now he made a pawn push. I went here attacking his bishop. The bishop went back. And this pawn and bishop formation is the most annoying thing on the chessboard you will ever see in your life. It's very annoying because you can never break through it. You have to sacrifice something for it, or you have to at least to have a knight or a bishop to trade for this bishop, so that you can get to the pawn and continue the game having, uh, be an up material. So we played this move. Why? Because I didn't want him to go here to keep this pressure on my pawn. Now he went there, and now his plan with this move, maybe he wanted to play this, and take my pawn. And when I take it, there is rook takes pawn, and I cannot take because the bishop is spinning my pawn, right? So I decided to move the king. If he played anything with the pawns, I'm just going to attack his rook and simply move away. Now he went here, and now I pushed the pawn. The reason I pushed this pawn because I wanted to put the king on h6, right? But I cannot put the king on h6 because my pawn will be there. And when you want to, checkmate your opponent, you have to use every single piece that you have on the board. All your pawns, all your pieces, everything. So this is why I played h5. And now he went all the way back. I moved the king because I wanted to push my pawns. And now he went king here. And now I played this. Rook to a7. I wanted to go for a rook trade. I was like, okay, let's force a rook trade. And now it will be much easier for me because I have a rook versus a bishop and my rook will be better, right? So he moved away. I played this. He moved here. I offered a rook trade, but of course he didn't take. And I played this move. The reason I played the move h4, that now he will never ever have this push g4. Because if you play g4, I will take him with a check. He will take with the king, and I'll play some checks, and I will try to win the pawn on h3 because of my strong rooks. And also that will weaken his king a lot more, so he needs to be turtle up like this all the time to save himself from any kind of checks. He went here, and now my idea, I just wanted here to trade the rooks, but he still didn't want to. And now I went here, rook to c6. Now, in every single move we play, we are the advanced chess players, we always have a reason for the move. This move might seem like, what the hell, like mouse slip, I wanted maybe to go here, but no, I did not mouse slip. I wanted to go here because I wanted to play the move g5, but if I play the move g5 now, he will play this check. And of course I cannot block because I will lose my rook, and I cannot block with the pawn because I lose the pawn. So after this, he can give me this check, and if I went back, the rook is restricting my king, and I can never defend my pawns here. And if I went back with the king, there might be some kind of a check, and it's like simply dead this, some kind of check, and I go here. This is actually checkmate. Bishop all the way back is checkmate. I have to give away the rook. Or push the pawn. It will not be checkmate, but I have to give away a pawn. So I went here to stop him from playing that check. Now I pushed my pawn, he went back, and I played the move f5. I wanted to expand with my pawns to at least try to make his king a little bit not safe. He went here, and I pushed the pawn. Now everything's defended. He can never target this pawn because it's defended. He can never give me a check because the rook is defending the king, and everything's nice. He attacked me, and I dropped back. Now, the reason I dropped back here also has a reason. And the reason is this. I wanted to go rook to e8, go all the way rook to e2, force a rook trade, and if he did not trade, I would have some kind of pawn push to target this pawn somehow. So he went back, I played this, and now he played bishop to a4, attacking my rook. But I don't care, I played the move rook to e2. You take my rook, I take your rook, and he will lose the pawn very, very soon. So he went there, I decided, come on boy, let's trade the rooks. Now he took, I take back, and I'm still up 2 points of material, which is very nice. Now he went for his formation, which is unbreakable, unfortunately. Unless I had a pawn, then maybe I could sacrifice the rook for the bishop, but at this point I don't have anything on this side, so this formation is unbreakable. I have to use my king. He pushed his pawn, and he's hoping that he will make a queen somehow, but he cannot. I made some moves just attacking him, and now he went here, he's defending, but he will never have the chance to play rook to a7 because of my rook can take, because the bishop is on a light square, can never be on a dark square. So I started attacking the bishop moved, and I went here, and now I went there. My plan was very simple. Rook to g1, or playing the move f3, trying to take here, trying to get to this pawn somehow. So now he saw that there was a lot of attacks on this weak pawn that's only defended by the king. So he went here. He was like, okay, take this pawn, and I actually took. That's great, and that was the best move. I attacked him, he moved the bishop there, and I went here, and I went there. Now, the reason I went rook here and not rook here is very simple. Rook here, I wanted to push the pawn. He will take, and only then I would give away the rook for the bishop. Because when king takes, right? Now the king will be here, and there will be nothing on the board except the king here and pawns here. So my king will be here, and he is forced to make a king move because his pawn is stuck. So now I can get to the pawn, win it, and move the king away and push my pawns, and I'll make a queen, and I'll win the game. So now he went here attacking my rook, delaying this move a little bit. But actually, which is a very, very crazy thing, that I might think that I have this move, f3. Because if he takes my rook, I have pawn takes g2. His king is stuck, so it might be stalemate, but it's not because he still has a bishop. And I would make a queen, and that would be checkmate. That would be crazy if I played this move, but I did not see it because I was low on time, and I was like very annoyed and very nervous. He went here, and now I decided to make this move. He takes, and I went rook takes, and I was like, come on. Take with your bishop, that would be very easy for you to go away, and I will get to the pawn, push my king away, and make some queens on the board. He went back, trying to go for the exact same formation as pawn bishop here, but on this side of the board. I went there, he went here, and I went there. He played this attacking my rook, I went back. And now I move the king with a check. Here, as you can see, the king cannot go there because of the pawn, so he's forced to go all the way back. Now, the rook is restricting his king, so the king can never come closer to defend the pawn. Now I can just use my king, take the pawn, move it away, push the pawn, make a queen, that's it. Here, now he went for his same formation. I went king here, and now he moved his king. Now the best move in this position, and the move that I was thinking about, I wanted to go rook to h2. I wanted to give away the rook for the bishop. He would take king here, and I would just simply push the pawn, king here, push the pawn, king here, just move the king away, make these two pawns, give some checks, and make a queen, and that's it. But I really hated the fact that he can somehow, take his king and shove it up on h1 all the time somehow to try to stop me from making a queen, right? So I decided, you know what? Let's play a check, force him to go to e2, then go here and give away, because now the king will be here, and I would have the chance to play king to g2 opposition. The king will be, the white king will be here, and my king will be here, and now he can never get close to me, and I would have this passer. So for me, it seems very, very, very simple, right? But I played this move literally with only 1 second thinking. I did not think, I just played the move, and I played this. So yeah, I blundered. My opponent, I first blundered at the game, giving away a pawn. Then he won some pieces, and then he blundered his rook, and I took it. And now I blundered my rook, which is a very, very sad thing. Now this is not winning for him because he doesn't have material, especially when I take the pawn. It will be a draw. And even when I have two pawns on the board, it will never be a win. If he doesn't have a bishop, he is losing the game. But the bishop is always ready to sacrifice itself when I play the move g4. When I move g4, he will take, and I will take with the king, and now he will put his king on h1, holding the promotion square. That's it. It's very, very simple. So I got very, very mad. I was playing, and I was a little bit low on time, and I got so sad. But now I have to make this move, and now he sacrificed the bishop for the pawn. And now he went here. If I move the king anywhere, I lose the pawn. If I went here, he goes back. I'll play this. He goes here. I cannot play this check because if he moved away, he's a retard. If I play this check and he goes here, that would be a stalemate. So we kept shuffling some pieces, but then it's just a draw. And the game ended with a draw against a 2014 rated player. This is how 1800 ELO thinks. And yes, 1800 ELO players blunder, and 2000 ELO rated players blunder, even grandmothers blunder as well. So if no one blunders in the game, no one wins it. So take it easy on your blunders, learn from your blunders from the game review, and try not to make them. So I've learned a lot from this game, and I knew that was a mistake. I was just supposed to go here, sacrifice the king for the bishop, the rook for the bishop, and push the pawns. That would be winning. But I missed it. And I hope that you learned something valuable from this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, comment part 2 below. And thank you so much for watching. See you in another video.